Welcome to today's edition of Free Tool Friday. My name is Tyler S. Clark, co-founder here at Dream Firms, where we create generational wealth and impact for accounting professionals and all that good stuff. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you my number one shortcut to streamlining your accounting firm for higher profits. And the best thing about what I'm about to show you is that this is a repeatable exercise that you can do again and again and again to continue to streamline your firm for even higher and higher profits and better results with less time from you, the owner. So what I like to do is I like to kick off this with a story of how I learned these tactics and principles, and then how I deployed them inside of my own accounting firm, and ultimately what that was able to do for us. So when I first started my accounting firm way back when, I realized the importance of efficiency very, very early, as I imagine most of you are. And I thought, automation, that seems like it's pretty important. What's the best way to go about that? Long story short, I spent essentially $15,000 to learn the techniques and be able to successfully implement these techniques inside of my firm. Now, that $15,000 was money, to be honest, that was not very well spent. I'm just going to come out and say that. But you're going to be able to get all the benefits of that with none of the costs, because I'm going to show you exactly how it works to be able to start to automate your firm. Now, the reason this is an important exercise is that the reason accounting professionals struggle with automation is they go into the software without a game plan. They go in there, they start looking at all the different features, and they don't really know necessarily what they want out of it. They think really big, and then they have to realize they have to get super granular. And then we don't necessarily make nearly as much progress as quickly as we could. So what I'm going to show you is what is known as our Define Your Systems worksheet. And this is the pre-work that all of our most successful clients do when they get ready to jump into any software to build something that's going to allow them to streamline any process, whether it's marketing, sales, fulfillment, operations, or finance. And so if you want this PDF, all you got to do is comment down below, #proactive in the comment section, #proactive, and we will send this to you. You don't have to recreate it. You don't have to try and copy it down. No email opt-in, just literally comment down below. I will send it to you directly. And again, you'll get our Define Your Systems PDF. So I'm going to walk you through what this is meant to do, how this is meant to work, and then we'll get you to streamlining those profits very, very quickly. So I'm going to share my screen so you can see exactly what this looks like in crystal clear detail and how it's meant to impact your firm. So why don't we go ahead and do just that? So hopefully you can see my screen, and what you have here is the very beginning of the worksheet. So what I want to call your attention to is specifically the beginning trigger and the ending trigger. So the way I want you to think about this is that when you are getting ready to build an automation to streamline a part of your business, you want to say, well, how do I know when this particular system or process is meant to start? What would indicate to my software that this is going to need to kick into gear? And then how do I know when it ends? And I ask you to keep this exceptionally simple. What ends up happening, and the reason people struggle with automation, is they try and automate from the beginning, the client first ever learns about you, to all the way till the end. And while that is certainly possible, the way you do that is you break it out and you turn it into bite-sized pieces. And that's what this is meant to convey here. So for instance, when you are getting ready to create, let's say, a play related to sales, okay? In other words, someone has raised their hands and they've expressed an interest in learning more about your incredibly valuable service. The question is, well, what would indicate that the beginning of that particular system? And we'd say, well, the beginning trigger would most likely be related to the call getting scheduled, right? Someone booked a call on your calendar with a specific link that is specifically for exploring your services to figure out if they're going to buy from you, okay? So that would be the beginning trigger. It's like, we know when this happens, we want the following things to happen. And the question is, well, what's the ending trigger? Well, the ending trigger is when they pay you, right? Like literally like when they run the credit card. So if you start with just, again, like what is the beginning and the ending of this? And then you can go to the next chapter and you say, well, what happens when we run their credit card? We begin onboarding, but that's a separate play, right? That's a separate system that you would want to build And as soon as you kind of go, well, if I go from here all the way to over here, there's a lot more complexity. If something small breaks, whether it's in the software, it's much harder to identify and to be able to solve it. So this saves an unbelievable amount of time. If you just put pen to paper, let your thoughts pour out and be able to have a game plan when you go into building your automation. So again, taking a look here, you pick your department. Marketing, getting people to raise their hands, sales, handshakes, delivery, delivering on your promise, operations is the glue, and finance is effectively how well you're playing the game of money. And so your system name is actually extremely easy. Now, the reason we use 01, 02, 03, 04, 05 is whatever department this play is meant to represent, you put 02, so it's meant to represent sales, and then you just put the name of the beginning trigger and the ending trigger. 02, book call, needs to buy, or 02, book call, need to run credit card, right? And it's a representation of where they are in your firm at any given time, okay? So once you've defined that, I'm gonna skip past this real quick because I think the example helps it make a lot more sense. But the best way to think about this is there's an ideal path where they do exactly everything you want. And then there's the detour when they don't do exactly what you want. And then there's also an exit where you recognize you shouldn't be in this play. Maybe they weren't qualified. Maybe they're a price shopper. Maybe they ghosted you, maybe whatever. And then we have ways to kick them out, or we have ways to re-engage them back into the perfect path. So let me show you exactly how this works. And again, if you decide to comment down below #proactive, we'll give you the worksheet, we'll send it to you, and you have the tips that show you exactly how this is meant to run and operate. But down here is an example. So again, if you want to run through it, you literally just print this page. I think it's page 2. If you print page 2, you can do this exercise like almost ad infinitum. And so here is an example of a play or an example of a system/process. We use those terms relatively interchangeably. And so here you can see, okay, system name 02, book call, needs to buy. Basically exactly what I said earlier. The department is sales, the beginning trigger, book call, ending trigger is bought. And so what you're seeing here is 2 separate things that you need to be able to keep track of, which is what happened, pretty self-explanatory. They booked a call, it's the beginning trigger. There's no creativity involved here. And then what do you want to happen? Well, you need them to show up for the call, right? That's what we want to happen. And so under that, you'll be able to put in the details of what you believe will increase the chances that they show up to that call. So we recommend, hey, you can send 3 times SMS reminders, the day they book, the day before, and an hour before. The same thing is true for email. And you may also then have a task assignment to a team member, an administrator, an outsourced virtual assistant, to then call that person and say, hey, just a friendly reminder, you've got a meeting coming up with the leader of our firm. They're very excited to speak with you. Please have these following things prepared, okay? But let's say for a moment that they don't do that. Let's say, for instance, that they cancel. Let's say, for instance, that they don't show up. Are we going to just say, well, they're not qualified? I mean, things happen in people's lives. People cancel and don't show up to our calls. And I don't immediately think that they're bad people or bad potential clients. Things happen. I get it. So what we do is we say, well, wait a minute. Let's actually move them into another sequence that is meant to literally recycle them back into the perfect path, right? That's what the detour is meant to represent. So we say, well, what would we want to do if they don't take the perfect path, if they don't show up for the call, to get them back onto our calendar? And if they don't show up, right, this is just like, boop, I click one button in my CRM and I don't even have to think about it. I just go, they no-showed, no big deal. I'm focusing on something else now, right? I'm busy. I got things to do. And now I know that this is running in the background. I free up my mind. I can focus on other things. I'm not playing phone tag. I'm not writing one-off emails over and over and over again, right? That's the opposite of streamlining. And so let's assume that they rebook, right? Needs to show. Showed for call. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, I want to indicate why I have an exit play on not qualified. And I think that this is an important thing for all of us to keep in mind, is that not everyone's going to be a dream client of yours. Not everyone listening to this is a dream client of mine. I get that. We have a very strict criteria you have to meet to work with us. We're at capacity, so you couldn't work with us right now if you wanted to. But the point is that if you were to identify on the front end, based on the way they fill out the form, that they're not a fit for your firm, maybe the wrong industry, maybe just like filled out the form like they thought it was a joke, put no answers, you can say they're not qualified, right? You can literally just go boop, just as you would go boop, no show, boop, not qualified, and you might start a long-term nurture, which means they may become qualified in the future, right? Just because someone's not qualified today doesn't mean they're not qualified in a year from now. And then they're still engaged with you. They're not leaving, but they're going into a separate play, right? Your long-term nurture play, which is essentially just saying, hey, we're going to keep you on drip. We're going to pay attention to you, and we're going to communicate on a regular basis through email for when you are ready. Okay, so let's go back to the perfect path, because that's the fun part. So they do exactly what you want, right? They show up to the call. And now what? Well, they needed the presentation, right? We also need to make sure that the quote gets delivered to them. And so when we take a look at this, you could say, well, Tyler, I might say they showed for the call and needs quote instead of needs presentation. That's fine. You can choose how you run these plays based on your what you consider to be a priority. But I look at it as you got to present, and then they got to buy. And the presentation, of course, includes the quote. So it might be just a change of terminology, but it doesn't make much of a difference. And so if you presented and they need to buy, right, all you need to know is, did they buy or not, right? And if they did not buy, did you book a follow-up call? Did you send the email proposal, right? This is on the Detour side, because the perfect path is to show up, they get your value, you pre-framed it, they understand they need this, and boom, bing, bang, boom, done. They're into onboarding now. That's efficiency, right? Or they say, I got to speak to my spouse, or, it seems like it's a little bit larger than the other firm down the street, but you guys have a lot to offer that I really like. I need a little bit of time to think about it. And then we go, okay, no problem, right? Book a follow-up call, email the proposal, and then and then you have another reminder sequence, maybe 2-3 emails, 2-3 text reminders to get them to show up for that decision follow-up call. And then at the end here, right, whether they circle back into needs to buy or whether they bought, we have everything taken care of, right? They're either going to exit, they're going to say, hey, this isn't for me, no problem, did not buy, start long-term nurture, or they bought and now we start client onboarding, and then we create a separate play. Like literally I'd come up here and I'd say, well, what's the beginning trigger for onboarding? And I'd say the beginning trigger for onboarding is we ran the credit card, right? Or client filled out onboarding questionnaire. Probably, I would think it's run the credit card. That's just, or signed engagement is returned. It's up to you, right? It's literally your choice, but you have to take the time to say, how do we make sure that everything is fully accounted for on paper first? And then we go into the softwares and we go, awesome. How do I now tie these things together and make them incredibly easily accessible? So that is effectively the best possible way, literally my number one shortcut to streamlining your accounting firm for higher profits. If you want this PDF, comment #proactive in the comment section down below. And again, while it may look on the surface to take more time, anyone that's built any sort of automations will be the first person to tell you that if you don't go into a software with a game plan, you're going to spend 10 times the amount of time trying to figure out what you want it to do. And all your creativity time or all your game planning needs to be done well in advance of opening up the software that you're going to use to start to build these automations into it. So hope you enjoyed today's Free Tool Friday. Again, if you want access to that resource, just comment #proactive down below. And what's that thing that I'm forgetting? Oh, remember, only you can make your dream firm a reality, but we are here to help you every single step of the way. I'll see you next week, and best of luck on that streamlining.